there was footage on the timeline of a bunch of dudes dressed up like doctors and civilians, like wearing a hijab, for example. Caught on CCTV footage inside of a hospital. I was shocked to find out that this was the Israeli occupying force that had gone into a dozen Israeli soldiers dressed up as doctors, nurses, patients, and veiled women went in to the hospital in Jenin. With guns. Okay. And executed point blank 3 Palestinians. I believe, according to the immediate reports that came after, I believe that the 3 Palestinians they executed were affiliated with the Jenin brigades. Okay. Now, this is basically a litany of war crimes. This dude, by the way, this dude straight up was in a wheelchair, took the wheelchair with him. I don't know why he's still carrying the motherfucking wheelchair. Now, a couple things I have to mention here. One, disguising yourself as a medical professional is a war crime. Okay? If you're a military person, well, let me just dial it back, actually. Israel's occupation of Jenin in the West Bank is illegal. There is no legal analysis that makes that correct. So that's number one. And the opposite end of this, the Jenin brigades, which is Palestinian militancy in the West Bank, remember, in Jenin, is perfectly valid and perfectly legal. So Israel's actions against the spontaneous militia force that is, I guess, for your Western understanding, like the standing military, okay, is doubly illegal. Okay? So, right off the jump, Israel's occupation in Jenin, illegal. Breaking and entering into a hospital, also illegal, with the intent to kill someone. And also dressing up as a civilian, or rather medical professionals, triply illegal. Okay? So that's 3 things. Last but not least, the targets that they had, okay, the targets that they had were 3 militia members. I believe 1 Hamas, 2 Jenin Brigade guys, okay? They were, well, 2 of them I think were visiting the one guy who had already had a spinal injury. That also is illegal. That is also a war crime. These are not enemy combatants that are actively in combat. This is the absolute legal standard of being outside of combat. Okay? It's like they demonstrated a textbook what not to do. Here is all of the war crimes that we have here. Like it feels like they literally tried to hit the war crime bingo, like all of the war crimes at once. Yeah, it's like looking at the War Crimes Convention and being like, well, that's my playbook. Like, I'm going to follow that to a T. Horrors the combat. Ors the combat is the designation. Okay. This is the stacks of compound interest Ben was talking about. Yeah. This is treating the Geneva Convention, or the Geneva Suggestion, if you will, as a bucket list. I believe you need to preemptively explain in the chat why they are war crimes to prevent, let's say, Russia from invading any hospital. What do you mean? Yeah, it's like they're trying to get 5 stars in GTA, but for all of the war crimes. Okay. No fucking way. These what? No fucking way. These guys are saying generally knows the Geneva Convention applies only to sovereign states with the exception. Oh shit, dude. Never mind. I guess you can do a genocide then. Like, what do you mean? That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's bullshit. That's a bullshit way to try and justify this. All right, let's continue. Yeah, by that definition, we can genocide indigenous people here. Yeah, the loophole, guys. I think one of the funniest parts about this is like American military guys doing this like incredibly Reddit thing of trying to defend the Israeli military's actions. And it's like, don't worry, brother. You guys are both pieces of shit. You know what I mean? Like, what you're doing is also fucked up. So yeah. There it is. You know they would agree for indigenous peoples where they live and then trot out indigenous people in Russia as their tokens? Yes. So this has got to be a real, are we the baddies wake-up call moment for some people? Absolutely not. I think people are probably jerking off to this and saying it's fire because it looks cool like in the movies. I'm going to tell you something. Some people are going to look at this and go, oh, this is so sick. It's just like Metal Gear Solid or, you know, Mission Impossible or something. That's number one. Number two, other people are going to look at this and try to justify it, as many liberals are doing, and as some were trying to do in my chat earlier today. Okay? One of those examples is, of course, the friend of the show, Brianna Wu, who has just been like, I don't know what the fuck happened. She's just like, she literally went from like knowing absolutely nothing about Israel to just repeating, copy pasting Hasbara, like unimaginable amounts. Yeah, Brianna Poo. I don't know what the fuck went. I don't know what happened. Friend of the show is a joke. Okay. Anyway, she's actually gone insane. Like went off the deep end, Fetterman style. Houthinis. The Houthinis broker. Apparently she was a Bush supporter, so really this is just perfectly in line for her, just the races. Yeah, I know. And it comes from a rich family, whatever. Who gives a shit? I don't give a fuck about that. Did you hear about the phone call between paramedics and the 15-year-old that was gunned down by the Israeli occupying force? No. I read about it, but where the fuck is it? I'm trying to find, someone link me the Brianna Poo take on the matter, because I want to show you how fucking deranged liberals are in defending this. But now that I described this to you, okay, now that you understand why it is like absolutely ridiculous. Here, this is what she said. Mehdi Hasan said about 10 members of the Israeli Special Forces dressed in civilian clothes went to the third floor of the hospital where they killed the men using weapons fitted with silencers. In any other country, we call this a government death squad. Sheesh. Okay. Brianna Pooh's response was, I really respect you and your work. I'm not going to even say, we shouldn't say Brianna Pooh, because then people are going to be like, you're being racist to her. You're like making fun of her last name or something. Like, liberals will literally grab onto anything when they're defending the most indefensible shit. So we shouldn't do that. I read that from the chat, and we shouldn't do that. She's white. It doesn't matter. 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 People do that anyway. We shouldn't say it because it's so dumb. Well, I was saying it because it's dumb, because it's kind of funny. It's like Eve Fartlow. All right, whatever. I really respect you and your work, but I don't see what is wrong about this. They are special forces, and the entire thing they train for is an unfair fight. They are targeting people who are 100% valid, is what she said. And then she followed that up with... Wait, what? She said, keep it up, y'all. You're reaching historic 8chan levels of wishing death on me and my family. This is definitely the way to win. Winning what? Like random accounts with a hammer and sickle in their bio on Twitter telling you that you should kill yourself is not politics, okay? It's just random accounts on Twitter telling you that your take is really stupid and you should kill yourself for it. It feels bad. I get it all the fucking time. Sometimes from hammer and sickle accounts on Twitter, okay? But I've never been like, wow, this is why we're losing elections. Like, half of those motherfuckers are not from America. The other half that are from America are under the age of 18. And then the last remaining faction have never voted anyway, or are like voting for some fucking Trotskyite party or some shit that I have never even heard of, okay? So, like, none of that is about elections or winning what battles, Some of y'all are confused, so please stay tuned for some more expert foreign policy analysis. Hamas back. I know this is controversial and hard to grasp. I believe in you. Oh my God. She's just trying to, I think, capture the attention of all of the thread I'm looking for is not around. I can't find it. Oh, here's the other Zionist position I wanted to show you. Bethany S. Mandel. If Hamas stormed the hospitals, they would kill everyone indiscriminately. When the IDF stormed a hospital, they went to a specific room to kill 3 particularly bad guys. Thank you for the opportunity to draw a comparison, which is hilarious because it's basically admitting that it's a war crime. Israel's real war crimes are good because if Hamas hypothetically did the exact same war crimes, they would be so much more violent. Is not an argument a sane person should make, but it's a fundamental part of Hasbara for some fucking reason, is what I said. Okay? And it is very odd. It's very odd to be like, listen, a Highlander one or this one, I think, yeah. Haven't you heard about the comments Drew terrorists get Highlander? Oh, she deleted the original post because it was dumb as fuck. I read the original post. That's what I was trying to find. Her original post was incredibly stupid and everybody was dunking on it. So I think that's why she ended up deleting it. One of the targets was a spokesperson for Hamas military wing, and Hamas ultimately claimed all 3 of them as members. They can't just plot terror attacks with total impunity. Oh my God. You cannot go into an area that you are illegally occupying and go into the hospital dressed up as a motherfucking doctor and execute these dudes that are not in combat. That is not how this works. That is not legal. You can't do that. If the comparison that you're making is like the police, for example, well, you're not a police force in Jenin. You are illegally in Jenin. If someone went into that hospital while they were doing that and domed every single one of those special forces units, they would be well within their rights to do so. Just so we're making everything clear here. If the Jenin brigades were outside of the hospital waiting with weapons drawn and just fucking lined them up and lit them up, they would be well within their legal responsibility to do so because Israel is a foreign occupier, a belligerent occupier on land that it does not belong to it by any international standard. Okay? This is in the fucking West Bank. That is so stupid. What are we doing? What the fuck is this argument that they're like, well, they were Hamas members or Hamas claimed them? It's like, oh, okay, suck my dick. Doesn't their argument justify the Hamas attack? Most Israeli citizens were combatants at what point? Yeah, I mean, literally, yes. Americans don't like this. It's a reminder every U.S. property owner is occupying stolen land. Doing it in a hospital like this to non-combatants is special protections, extrajudicial killing to be specific. Exactly. There are straight up direct laws written for the specific war crimes that Israel did today. Okay? You cannot go into a hospital dressed up as a doctor to assassinate people who are part of militia forces that are not in combat, including one that is literally in the hospital bed getting treatment. That's insane. That's like walking into a VA hospital dressed as a nurse and shooting every vet saying he's a soldier. Total insanity. Not even a veteran hospital, like a regular hospital where a veteran is, okay? No, not even a veterans hospital. Like not in a VA hospital. Going into like Cedar Sinai, okay? Dressed up as a fucking doctor. It's like unimaginable. You can never make this comparison. Americans will never fucking understand this, okay? They just can't because that would never happen in America. Israel's Dov Devon unit led an assault on Ibn Sina Hospital in Jenin today, killing 3 Palestinians. Israeli commentators have defended the action, saying they belong to militant groups. This does not preclude Israel committing a list of war crimes from start to end. First, the IDF Shin Bet says these Palestinians were planning an attack. Validating the claim is near impossible given the credibility of both the IDF and Shin Bet. In any event, all 3 enjoyed protected person civilian status at the time of their killing. Do you understand? Do you understand? These guys are protected person civilian status because they are not enemy combatants in that moment. The specific point that I jokingly mentioned earlier, calling it hors d'oeuvres, is hors de combat, right? That's the designation for it. It means you were an enemy combatant. You could have been an enemy combatant at some point, but you are no longer an enemy combatant in that instance because you are a civilian person, okay? That's why you can't, as we've mentioned, go in to a civilian hospital and start murking motherfuckers who used to be active duty, okay? That are like on the process of getting medically discharged, okay? You just can't do that. Yes. Perfidy is the word for impersonation as noted in the Geneva Convention Protocol 1. You know, portraying yourself as a medical professional to carry out an assassination. It doesn't matter. They're killing Jenin troopers who are not Hamas, which is a war crime, especially dressed like patients. Yes. So there it is. Here is the official designation. In armed conflicts of international character, however, it must be kept in mind that civilians shall be protected from any acts of violence. And in the case of doubt, whether a person is a civilian or a combatant, he or she shall be treated as a civilian. References to suspected terrorists are often based on missing reliable and public evidence of the commission or preparation of terrorist acts, making it impossible to challenge the validity of the presumption in a court of law. This categorization also indicates that those persons are civilians or that at least there are doubts about their status. Therefore, they are entitled to be treated as civilians. Okay? That's number one. So, hospital war crime 1. Israel's attack wasn't only distinct disrespect to the hospital's sanctity, but brazen disregard for the very restricted prohibitions not being an object of an attack. One Palestinian was even being treated. Thus, Ibn Sina hadn't lost protected status. Article 18, wounded and sick. 3, protection of hospitals, which is civilian hospitals organized to give care to the wounded and sick, the infirm, and maternity cases may in no circumstances be the object of attack. But of course, as we've said before, the Israeli occupying force looks at these conventions and basically uses as a checklist of what to do and not what not to do instead of what not to do. They look at it and they go, this is our to-do list. This is our bucket list. Okay. All right, there's blood here, so I'm not going to show you, but it's basically a hospital bed or an impromptu hospital bed and another like seating arrangement where these guys were executed on top of. Extrajudicial killing, war crime 2. 2 of the Palestinians were said to have been unarmed and sleeping at the time of their execution. Article 27, Geneva Convention 4 provides that protected persons shall be protected, especially against all acts of violence. War crime number 3 is hors de combat, or to combat. The most egregious due to its insidious nature, killing wounded or incapacitated persons. Okay? Note, Sergeant Blackman, a Brit Marine, was convicted of murdering an Afghan under this crime in 2013, the first Brit since World War II. It's that level of egregious. The laws and customs of international law regarding hors de combat were grossly violated when the Dove Devon unit charged into the Ibn Sina hospital. Basil Ghawazi was killed today in his hospital bed, who at the time was paralyzed after being injured by Israeli forces in October 2023. This dude, and this is not him like dead. This is not a photo of him dead. This is a photo of him from the hospital bed to show you the conditions, okay? That dude was paralyzed. He was getting treatment. The targeted killing of all 3 compounds and appreciating additional rights afford them, namely the right to life, Article 6 ICCPR, which Israel is signatory. The right to fair trial, Article 14 ICCPR. Israel deprived all 3 of both while committing war crimes. Okay? The targeted killing of persons suspected of performing terrorist activities is not compatible with the right to life and to a due process. Neither in peacetime nor within the context of armed conflicts may they be of an international character or of a non-international character. If you feel you have the time and energy today, submit a complaint to the International Criminal Court using this link and contents here. Additionally, the rule of perfidy and customary international law, using deceptions by acting in good faith, dressing as Muslims and Arabs and doctors with the intent to kill. Yes. Perfidy is the other part of this process that we mentioned originally. Okay? And that is when you dress up as a fucking doctor or like a hijabi woman or whatever. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, here is the Israeli minister, member of Knesset, Ben Gvir, celebrating the special Israeli execution troops, which disguises Palestinians when they commit their crimes. Here he is. Not trying to defend them, but don't war crimes happen literally in every conflict? Not that that justifies it, but this is just the status quo. Brother, what are you talking about? I mean, technically, all war is a crime from where I'm standing, but that doesn't mean that, like, I'm going to sit there and act like this is normal and good. The entire purpose of why we have such designations is so that when people do it and when people violate it, we fucking punish them. Anyway. Do you think maybe they're trying to up their game and commit as many war crimes as possible in a single operation? I mean, this is pretty much like if on the way out they like killed a baby and like tortured a person, they would literally hit every war crime possible, I think. Like, you know, Children are under no circumstance considered like enemy combatants. And then obviously, torture is another one. Maybe like shot a journalist on the way out. You know what I mean? Like directly marked as a member of the press with a chemical weapon. It's crazy because like they do all of that shit too, using chemical weapons on a civilian population, even chemical weapons in general that are not allowed, and also killing journalists all the time. So like they already are doing all that. I'm saying that like specifically within the confines of this operation, they should have done that too. Beyond the obvious moral trespassing, these rules exist to protect hospital workers and ensure they can provide service in times when they're literally the most needed. Yes. Anyway, but why wouldn't they flex? And why wouldn't they keep doing these war crimes? Fuck the dumbass liberals on Twitter. They're irrelevant. They don't matter, right? I just showed you Brianna Wu's take or whatever, or that other fucking freak, Drew Pavlovian or whatever the fuck he is. He's an Australian dipshit that's like constantly like salivating at the prospect of like America and their allies doing genocidal acts so we can justify them. Jesus Christ. He's Greek as well. Yeah, Cypriot, actually. Anyway, beyond that, they're just like, they're sick in the fucking head, and it's funny to look at that, but they're irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. It's not politics, okay? It's not politics at all. It's not real politics. It's nothing. It's just simply like people chirping on Twitter. But here is some real politics. It's real politics in the sense of like cutting funding to UNRWA is real politics, okay? Like actual material harm to an entire population. Another version of like actual real world politics is this. Being asked about the operation. Here's State Department spokesperson Matt Miller.
Okay, and then my second thing, which is related but not UNRWA, which has to do with this operation that the Israelis.
You're totally out of line, bro. Dude, the line cannot be that at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break and I'm gonna get you by pissing you off. Okay, you're out of line. Get back in line and subscribe at the top of the fucking hour. Yeah, that's right, dude. Every time someone tries to debate me now, every time someone says some like unhinged shit in the chat, I immediately look down at the time and I realize that it's the top of the hour and you guys are not slick anymore, okay? You ain't slick, motherfucker. I know what's happening. And before you know it, the top of the hour has come and a 3-minute ad break is taking place. And if you no longer want to see those fucking ads, all you need to do is subscribe, baby, for $5 or free with the Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month, there's a 3-minute ad break now.
Launched in Jenin, a hospital today. What do you have any comment on that? Is this something that you think is problematic, or is it something that you look at with envy? Like this is some kind of great Mission Impossible mission that we wish that we could also do?
So I'd say that we strongly urge caution whenever operations have the potential to impact civilians and civilian installations. That, of course, includes hospitals. We do recognize the very real security challenges Israel faces and its legitimate right to defend its people and its territory from terrorism. Israel, of course, has the right to carry out operations to bring terrorists to justice, but those operations need to be conducted in full compliance with international humanitarian law.
Well, do those operations include going into hospitals and murdering people in their beds, regardless of whether they're they are suspected or even known terrorists.
So,
is that okay with you guys?
So there was a lot in the premise of that question. Obviously, we did know that they went into.
Well, you don't think that they went in and killed complete people who were completely innocent.
So let me say that
if you did think that, then you would be condemning it, right?
We certainly would, but I would say that Israel has said that these were Hamas operatives. They have said that one of them was carrying a gun at the time of the operation. So I'm not able to speak to the facts of the operation. You'd have to pass some kind of legal judgment. Know all of the
guys, this is the West Bank. There's no world in which this is like allowed. What Israel did is completely not allowed. Okay? That's it.
Facts of the operation. But as a general matter, they do have the right to carry out operations to bring terrorists to justice, but they need to be conducted
including in a hospital.
So we want them to conduct their operations in compliance with international humanitarian law. We would generally say that we don't want them to carry out operations in hospitals, but under international humanitarian law,
No, he's not saying he had a gun. They were in fear for their lives. He's not doing the cop argument. He's saying one of them had a gun to offer it additional justification because this is an enemy combatant that had a weapon on him. So technically they're not out of combat is what he's trying to say, which is fucking bullshit. Okay? Bullshit.
Hospitals do lose some of their protections if they are being used to for the planning of terrorist operations, for the execution of terrorist operations.
The actual hospital building does, but I mean, going in disguised as, women and doctors and whatever is something different, and then going in and picking out people in particular rooms and particular beds and killing them seems.
This is one of the bigger escalations since October 7th. No, Israel has been fucking doing this kind of disgusting shit since day one. Since before October 7th. This is Jenin. They do this all the time.
Be something
like not like going into the hospital disguised or whatever, but killing a shit ton of people in Jenin is like a commonplace. That's literally not true. A hospital losing its protection by post hoc magic. USA 100% says Israel has a right to maintain its occupation. Unreal, yeah.
So again, not able to offer an assessment without knowing all these facts. I said some of the facts that have been presented by Israel are that one of them was carrying a gun and that they were planning to carry out or to launch terrorist operations. So you would have to look at all of those facts to make a specific assessment about this operation. But in general, we do want to see hospitals protected. It is important that no civilians were harmed in this operation. And as I said, we do believe it's.
How do you know that?
There have been no reports of civilians who have been harmed in this operation.
No, they were technically civilians, in that from the standpoint.
And then Mike.
From the standpoint of not being combatants, enemy combatants in that situation, they are civilians. Someone brought up Osama bin Laden. Yeah, Osama bin Laden's raid is also not appropriate either. He should have been fucking apprehended and tried and then rotted in fucking prison, or I guess given the death penalty afterwards. What do you mean? The fuck? I love that American Answers to war crimes is literally like, well, here's another thing that we did that is extrajudicial. The fuck? Anyway.
A second thing, which is related, but not UNRWA.
Yeah, by the way, once again, I cannot stress this part enough. This happened in the West Bank. Israel has no right to be operating in the West Bank. The Jenin brigades have every right to operate in the West Bank because it is Palestinian territory that Israel illegally occupies.
which has to do with this operation that the Israelis launched in Jenin, the hospital today. What do you have any comment on that? Is this something that you think is problematic, or is it something that you look at with envy, like this is some kind of great? Okay, and then my second.
I know it'll never happen, but it'd be so sweet if we actually applied these principles to these fucking animals. And they like actually got punished.
For a hospital raid happening early this morning, Israeli special forces disguised as medical staff took down a member of Hamas and 2 others.
What? The raid itself, though, was within the rules of war because they were clearly identified as American combatants. Of course, they shouldn't have shot them. It's different if you aren't clearly marked as your country. Wait, what? 100% it does not fall under the exemption of active threats in a hospital during a time of war. This is the pure bullshit. 34 MKD 50. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs. You're going nutty with it. Two batches. Oh, you were talking about the Bin Laden raid. Oh, yeah. Bin Laden raid. As far as like raiding to apprehend Bin Laden, yeah, that part is perfectly valid. I just don't think that they were raiding to apprehend him. I think they were raiding to kill him. That's part of the reason why I didn't show the body. Isn't it because they like literally raided, killed him, and then canoed him? His face. Bin Laden raid. The Israeli raid was against the law. Yeah. Yeah. Also, yeah, they were obviously the American SEAL Team 6 was directly identified as enemy, like American combatants. You're right about that. Yeah.